Hello, everyone, once again. Welcome back to the Tuesday edition of the Vendetta Sports Media Daily Show. Once again, is your Tuesday crew alongside Matt Hannafin. I'm Chris Bagdonis. What is going on, Matt? How are you, dude?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. How about yourself?
Pretty good. It is quite an interesting time to be a sports fan, to put it lightly. There's plenty going on, plenty about to happen, in terms of baseball. But we can start with the NBA because obviously we're in the final. That's right. That right there is what it's all about, people. We will have plenty to say. You should all
We'll hit
stay
on it.
tuned. We will hit on the New York Yankees more than you will believe. But we can just quickly, I think, just jump into the NBA scores because there was some pretty good games, also some pretty good storylines as we hit the final 5 to 10 games of the season for most teams. And obviously, I love this guy right here, Mr. Emmanuel Quickly, just absolutely automatic yesterday against the Houston Rockets. 40 points, a
Career
career
high.
high. He went 8 for
Career
8
high.
from
40
shooting
points.
inside the paint, and apparently that's like the first time a Knicks guard has done that in like 25 years. 5 for 7 from 3. I feel like this guy's gonna. I mean, obviously he started yesterday in the absence of Jalen Brunson, but I feel like this guy's got to be a contender for Sixth Man of the Year this year.
I would say I would have to look at the Vegas odds, but I still think he's the front runner.
He's just been. I don't know. I mean, it's just crazy to me that Tom Thibodeau was ready to just give up on this guy. I mean, I remember it was supposed to be like a second round pick or something he was available for, and now he's just. I mean, he may not be a Knick for much longer because they're gonna have to pay him, but still, he's just played his way into a kind of like Jordan Poole in the finals almost. He's played his way into a very nice extension this summer.
Yeah, he'll probably get an extension similar to like what Poole got and probably what Tyler Hero got, kind of in that range, depending on what the cap number ends up being. But yeah, he'll probably get like a 4 for or a 5 for whatever. I can't remember what like the max would be. I don't think he's getting the max. Like he's not going to
Oh
get
yeah, and I think maybe since he was a second round pick, it may like be or no, he was a late first, so I guess he still is the same like.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, this was especially yeah, it's the Houston Rockets, obviously. Like, they're one of the worst teams in the league. But, again, the Knicks have been kind of sliding the previous 3 games. And, like, not necessarily against, like, Miami, for example, but, like, they were having trouble, like, early in games and trying to get out to big leads. And if you let teams hang around, that sometimes bites you in the butt, especially in the NBA, where really there's no easy win. I mean, yeah, the Houston Rockets is the Houston Rockets, the Hornets are the Hornets, the Spurs are the Spurs, et cetera, but it's like there's no like guaranteed wins in the NBA, barring like a substantial amount of injuries. But even then, that's not necessarily the case all the time, because there's just a weird league, and that's just how sometimes it works on a night-to-night basis. As much as we think that the Houston Rockets will lose every game, that's just not ultimately the reality of the situations. But like the Knicks were sputtering a little bit.
Totally.
And it's just, again, highs and lows of an NBA season, of an 82-game season. I mean, a 3-game sample isn't something to write home about, but this is something that the Knicks were kind of falling in the standings a little bit, just in terms of games back or games ahead of Brooklyn and Miami and Atlanta. In contention, they're still in line to make, I think, the 5 seed right now. But last night was a good kind of breath of fresh air, especially without Jalen Brunson.
Absolutely.
To kind of get back on track. For example, I mean, again, they play Miami tomorrow, which will be
that's going to be a cataclysmic game.
Who's in standings? Yeah,
and so I can pull those up real quick.
Yeah, because I think they're 2 ahead of Miami right now, or 2.5.
Yeah, so Miami wins.
Miami's tied with Brooklyn right now. I don't think the Knicks are in any trouble anymore of being a play-in team, but with that's 8 games left in the season, or no, 6 games left.
6, yeah, for the Knicks, yeah.
For the Knicks, I mean, so it's like I think they're in a pretty good spot right now, just from that perspective. Of course, it doesn't help that Miami lost to Brooklyn over the weekend. No, just they got killed by Brooklyn.
Yeah,
and then Brooklyn lost to Orlando, and they've lost most of their last few games. It's not including the one against Miami, but. So that, I guess, that helps the Knicks in that aspect. But it was a good win to see them kind of get back on where they were, because they were sputtering a little bit. Because I think they had a stretch where they were like 3-6 over like a previous 9 or something like that, including that 3-game losing streak that I just mentioned. But I guess last night was what you call like a get right game, and it was an incredible night for Quickly. Obviously, that goes without mentioning.
I mean, guys like him, he's going to make the difference when the playoffs start. And then, it's a game of, especially once it starts, a guy like Tom Thibodeau, he's going to have a short leash on that rotation, maybe 8 guys at most, 9 guys at most. And, I'm sure Quickly's going to be, if not the first, one of the first guys that are going to come off the bench for that team. And if you told me at the end of, or at last offseason, when the Knicks were just once again a soap opera, they couldn't be consistent, nothing went right for them. If you told me they went out and they are pretty much in line to win at least 45 games, and you told me they could win 45 games, stay out of the play-in, and potentially, I'm not saying no guarantees, but potentially have a better chance at winning a playoff series than they did against the Atlanta Hawks, then I would have called you crazy. But I mean, it's just a testament to this roster, and obviously these guys are willing to put the work in, and because it's largely unchanged from last year. I mean, maybe like Isaiah Hartenstein and Jalen Brunson obviously has been a huge addition, but most of that nucleus from the previous seasons are still there. And as a Knicks fan, I can't complain. But other scores,
Hartenstein was also awesome last night too. Like he was someone else off the bench. I think he had like 8 points, like 6 assists or whatever. But like he, at least lately, just from what I've seen from the Knicks, he's been impressing me. And then of course, Obi had a good night off the bench.
He did.
Grimes, Randall had a 26-point night. RJ wasn't that bad, and so it definitely helps when you're supplementing Quickly's production with just good overall production.
It was.
And
really
it's like, I wonder. I'd have to like do like a thought exercise just by myself about it. But like, I wonder what the Knicks playoff rotation will be with Hart, with Top, and with Hartenstein. Like, what is that exactly going to look like? Off the bench?
Might be a 9-man rotation, honestly. Just like there's.
It probably will be. I mean, but knowing Tibbs though,
I know. It's
like with Tibbs, like I was about ready to make the joke that he's just going to play all 5 guys.
He'll play the starting 5 the whole time.
Like, what exactly, like, what type of a leash is he going to have with like Mitch? What type of a leash is he going to have with Grimes?
Like the young guys, like Grimes.
Like I wondered. I mean, I think Grimes he should play regardless. Obviously, I'm not
absolutely.
That. But like, what type of leash is he going to have with some of these younger guys, comparatively to like a Brunson or a Randall or a Josh Hart? Like, what's exactly the leash is going to? I mean, of course, like the further you get into the playoffs, the playoff rotation is going to shrink, and so it's going to go from maybe 9, 10 guys to 8 to 7, depending on how far the Knicks advance. And it just depends on who plays well. I mean, I know Miami's had to, at least I'll use last year as an example. Like Victor Oladipo wasn't in the playoff rotation to start. Well, Jimmy Butler gets hurt. I think Lowry gets hurt as well. And guess what? He's starting game 5 of the first round against the Hawks, and he puts up 23 points and he wins by 4. So it's like there's going to be a situation, possibly. I'm not saying this will be, but like there's going to be situations where someone's not playing well or someone gets hurt or nicked up or whatever. And it's going to be a next man up mentality. But like, I just wonder how, at least for the Knicks initially, I mean, what I believe 4 seed.
What was that? I think
they're going to face Cleveland in the first round.
Yeah, right now is the Cavs.
Okay.
But,
it's like, okay. So that's not going to be an easy series.
No way. The Cavs have been great this year.
But I kind of wonder how that's going to shape itself out. I'm assuming, it's going to be, looks like right now, looking at it, it's going to be Cleveland getting the 4 seed, barring a Sixers collapse. So it's either going to be probably Philly or Cleveland that you'll get in round 1 if you're the 5.
No easy series, no matter who it is. And we could spend all day talking about that. I mean, the Cavs, like, they had a great start, and now they've just kept it up. And the best Cavaliers team that does not have LeBron James in it since how long? Like that's
Ah,
a testament to Kobe Altman in that front office and JB Bickerstaff, and
what do you mean?
really
You don't like the Cavs team that won 20 games? No.
the Cavs team with rookie Kyrie Irving into the 2011-2012 season. I mean, it is quite. I mean, and also I feel like it's. Look, I love the guy. I love LeBron, but I feel like it's kind of like a testament to like when LeBron is on your team, and I guess we'll see it with the Lakers in a couple of years that it really, it is all about LeBron when you have him on your team. And you could probably say, as a Miami Heat fan, when he departed, kind of in his wake, it's tough to kind of pivot after LeBron walks out the door.
Yeah, those stretch of years. I mean, Dwayne's knees weren't particularly healthy. I mean, Bosh had the blood clot.
Yeah, I was really.
He was in 15 or 16, so it was. I mean, Miami. I think I've talked to you about this before, but like one of the weird anomaly seasons that we've had just in recent memory that I can remember is when they had like I think it was like a 4 or 5 way tiebreaker for the 3rd seed in 2016. Miami, they won 48 games, but they were the 3rd seed that year.
Yeah.
It was just something that you're just like, wait, like a post LeBron team won 48. I think it was 48 games. And that was the year they had like Joe Johnson, who was way, way, way past his prime. They got him on the buyout market from the Nets. They had Amari Stoudemire, who was also way past his prime. Like it was just like a weird year. Like Gerald Green was one of their best players off the bench. It was a weird year. And that was the one year I got to see Miami play in person. But it was just like it was weird thinking about it. But then again, like Miami also had, I think it was 2017 where they started 10-31 and then they went 31-10 to cap off the season. There was just a weird string of years with Miami. And I mean, I'll say this on record, but like Jimmy Butler brought the franchise out of the rut. Like I don't want to say saved the franchise, but he kind of saved the franchise just from that kind of mediocrity standpoint. I mean, Miami isn't the model of consistency right now, but just Jimmy kind of brought them out of that rut. And
that mindset, yeah.
They made the finals or have come one game away from making the finals through the last 3 years. But that's besides the point. But yeah, no, it was a weird, like 6 years, 6 seasons in the post LeBron era with Dwayne on his last legs and Bosh ultimately. It sucks what happened to Bosh. I mean, I wish we could have seen him play longer. He would have been, if he would have entered the league, he would have been a perfect kind of 4 next to Bam.
Oh yeah.
But again, that's besides the point.
But it just goes to show it is a very interesting kind of conversation that anyone could have. You may know some Cavaliers fans. I don't really know any, but I wonder what your perspective is.
I mean, I do know of some on Twitter that I follow and sometimes talk to, but personally, like in like real life, I do not.
Yeah, I've come across a couple on social media as well, but yeah, I mean they've seen all sides of it now that they have a kind of like what you said with the Heat. Like the Heat had a playoff team for a couple of years, and now the Cavs do, and it's interesting. It took a good 4 or 5 years post LeBron for them to really build something from the ground up. But I mean, another type of similar LeBron conversation you could have is about the Mavericks and Luka Doncic.
Oh my goodness!
That game against the Charlotte Hornets was not
games.
Games. That's right.
2 games.
They turned it around against Indiana, but still.
And that was I watched probably the first quarter and a half of that game last night, and it started out. It wasn't the best start for Dallas within the first few minutes, and I tweeted something. I was like, this team just looks broken. Like the defense just doesn't look good. I mean, because Indiana was without Tyrese last night.
That's right.
And it was just like this team just doesn't look good defensively. I mean, they haven't. That's been the bugaboo of them all year. I think they're like the 6th or 7th worst defense in the league right now. And like, they just haven't been good at all.
And obviously, I was thinking
right after the fact, they gash Indiana by 23 points. So like I'm not going to take complete credit, but I might have reverse jinxed.
Yeah.
The Dallas Mavericks. If Dallas starts defending well and they start winning, you know where to find me.
Yeah, exactly. The Matt Hannafin reverse jinx is now in play. But I was thinking about when obviously they wanted to get Kyrie Irving, and that's great. We all know what he can do on the basketball court, but they gave up their best perimeter defender in Dorian Finney-Smith, and now you're relying on guys like Reggie Bullock, and look, I love the guy,
Josh Green.
former Knicks legend Frank Ntilikina, but he's just not a NBA rotation level player.
And I don't think I feel like it's a little lazy to just pin this all on Kyrie, but you're right. They did trade their best perimeter defender.
Dinwiddie could at least, hold his own.
Dorian Finney-Smith. And I know Kleber has battled injuries. He's also kind of a really underrated perimeter defender for his size. But perimeter defense, it's a problem, but it's not they can't stop dribble penetration. They don't have a true rim protector outside of maybe JaVale McGee, who's way past he's 34, 35, I think. I mean, I love JaVale McGee. He's from my alumni, but he isn't the same player that he was when he was in Golden State, or even last year in Phoenix. He looks beyond. Yeah. And I don't know if that's just consistency in minutes. I don't know exactly what that is, but they don't have a true rim protector, and teams are just scoring in the will or scoring in the paint in kind of the short area. It at will. And so it's not just a Kyrie thing or a Luka thing. Even before the Kyrie trade, this team was not good defensively. It's not just Kyrie. Or it's not him. It's not the correlation of him and Luka becoming teammates and Dallas just all of a sudden stinking. It's not how it is. I mean, of course, and they haven't really played together a whole lot since Kyrie's arrived because of injuries to both players.
Out of the lineup, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's been a little bit of a fluctuation, and we're now at the low point of the season for Dallas because losing 2 straight to Charlotte is.
Yeah, you can't do much worse than that. And
right.
My first takeaway is, what it brings me back to is obviously we all remember the Phoenix Suns elimination last year in that Game 7, and that was a great series between those two teams. But they really did expose the Mavericks, especially Doncic. They just kept putting him in the pick and roll, and he just looked like a deer in the headlights. He just, they were cooking him pretty much in the pick and roll for the first 6 games of that series.
And he also hasn't been good defensively.
Yeah.
But that's probably in part because he's had to take so much of the load offensively.
That's also true.
Last year, Dallas was one of the best defensive teams in the league. Kind of Jason Kidd came in and kind of implemented this switch heavy. We're gonna flatten teams out. We're gonna keep teams in front type scheme, and it worked for him down the stretch.
That's another guy who has blood on his hands is Jason Kidd. Since seeing so many memes on Twitter's the worst rotations in NBA history.
Yeah. But Luka's been another one where it's you watch him defensively and he's just getting blown by. And it's just this is not I know Luka's not always the most fleet of foot, but if you're gonna have someone like Luka, or even to an extent someone like Kyrie, I'm not gonna try to single out Kyrie, but someone like a Luka-esque, someone who's not great at containing dribble penetration, you need help on that back line, and they don't have it. At least it just doesn't feel like it whenever I'm watching them play. It doesn't. And it's it doesn't seem like that they're as aggressive, because they were pretty aggressive last year defensively in terms of their screen coverage and stuff like that. But it just doesn't seem like they're as aggressive this year, in part because I don't know if it's the personnel with Powell and Christian Wood. I mean, Powell is not a bad defender, but it can't be just him. He's not a great defender, but he also is someone else who kind of lacks that size. They need
that traditional big man in there,
or just someone to hold the fort. Kind of they didn't need someone like a Brook Lopez, or someone of that kind of mold to just kind of help things out at the rim and on the back line, because it's it just keeps it. There's so much strain on it because of the lack of or lack of containing dribble penetration and the lack of interior presence. And it's just not working out for them. But hey, last night they won by 23 points. So I guess
exactly. It's you got to take the wins with the losses. And I mean, my closing thoughts on the Mavericks is, do you think it's too early to speculate on Luka Doncic trade rumors? Because I remember when he signed his
dude, you know how this league works. It's gonna happen.
I
Whether
know.
it should
Mark
happen
Cuban is going to
or
throw a
shouldn't.
fit on Twitter, and he's going to get traded.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like whether it's in the off season or the next trade, that like it all depends on how this season ends for Dallas, but it's certainly not treading in the right direction.
Yeah, and Kyrie's a free agent, so they could really just tear it all down. And the Knicks have their first round pick in 2023, top 10 protected. And obviously now they're kind of teetering towards the lottery a little bit, but that top 10 protection may kick in.
Right.
But hey, the Knicks look like a great destination for Luka Doncic. That's all I'm gonna say for now. I'll leave it at that. I'll
I'm
leave
not
it
going to comment. Bill Simmons has already done enough. We're going to link Luka to the Heat out of nowhere conversation. I'm not going to do it. Every superstar gets linked to Miami, and guess what? They don't end up with them. I'm not even going to entertain it for at least now. When the summer happens and this stuff becomes more fluid conversation, even though it's trade talk and it's sometimes annoying, that's when I'll entertain it. But now it's like, it's going to happen. The talk is going to happen at some point. Someone's going to start it, and it's just going to be whether it's deserved or undeserved. Yeah, it's going to be someone's going to break that dam, and I'm not going to do it, but someone.
Yeah. I agree. It's bound to happen. It's just like kind of a matter of who and would you mortgage all of Miami's first round picks for Luka Doncic? If
Yes.
I don't know what their situation is. Do they own their first round picks down the road?
They have their first round this year, but they won't have another one until 2028.
28.
Because so what happened was they had these weird protections. When they traded for Jimmy Butler, they traded a first round pick.
That's right.
To I believe, I don't remember, it was like a 4-team trade. I'm trying to remember who they traded to. But anyways, it eventually got rerouted to the Thunder, but it had 4 years of protections on it. And those protections started in 2023. And it was like, I think it was a lottery protected. But what happened last year was they amended those protections by trading Casey Okpala to the Thunder ahead of last year's trade deadline. And so they removed 2 years of protections on those picks. So they removed 2023 and 2024. That's when it started, was 2023, and it moved on. So now those protections begin in 2025. And if by 2026, or if it doesn't carry over in 2025, it'll carry over in 2026. And so, but with the stepping rule, you can't trade future first round picks in 2 consecutive years. And so thus Miami can't trade their 2027 first round pick.
Look who comments. You wouldn't even get Walker Kessler with the assets Miami has from Trey Daubert.
Yeah, you wouldn't. But like with those protections, Miami can't trade their 2027 pick just because of the off chance that the 2026 pick takes into place. Right. And so, yeah, you can't, you can trade it because the 2030 pick will unlock in the off season because it's like 6 or 7 years or whatever it is. So they can trade their 2023 pick, their 2028 and 2030.
Right.
And so that's kind of like what they can. I mean, of course, and then you could trade Tyler, who people think of as like a negative asset. I don't think he's not a negative asset. He's 23 years old.
He's won a 6th Man of the Year award. He's
right. Like Heat fans talk about him like he's like the worst player ever, and it's really annoying. I mean, they're not going to trade.
I'll say, Matt, I'll be the first guy to say you and many Heat fans had a point not too long ago that Tyler Hero was better than RJ Barrett. And still now, I think it's worth a look. Like, RJ's not had a good season.
I mean, I don't want to say Tyler's season's been bad, but it hasn't. People expected a lot of growth from him since he entered the starting lineup this year, and I think people have been slightly disappointed by the production that he's given, even though I still think he's probably had the best year of his career, just in like grand scheme of things. But like you can trade Tyler. I mean, but it's again like one of Pat's big fuck ups. Excuse my language, but one of Pat's big screw ups over these last few years is not cashing out on assets when they're at their highest. And I think that's more of like a hindsight take. But like something I've talked about ad nauseum just with several people is like their asset mismanagement has like come back and bit them in the you know what
Yeah.
over the last several years. And it's just like if you go back and look at some of the moves that he's made outside of like the Jimmy Butler signing, it just had like the last 3 years, it just
Yeah.
hasn't been good. And
And
it's like you give Duncan Robinson 5 years, 90 million. But when he was at the time, I don't want to say deserving of that, but like he was one of the vocal points of your offense. And when he's not playing, that's a
it's
problem.
costing you. Yeah, and it makes me think like I remember we've had this conversation in the past where ownership has already come out and said we do not want to be dipping into the luxury tax too much.
Yep.
And obviously you just
Yep.
said like Pat Riley has made some very expensive mistakes like Duncan Robinson. I don't know if Kyle Lowry has already been considered a flop or a fail or a bust, whatever you want to.
It hasn't lived up to the expectation. And but like they signed him to that deal thinking that they could capitalize on the 1 to 2 year window
Right.
of like what he could produce. And unfortunately last year he got hurt in the playoffs. He was working with one hamstring for 2 or 3 series. Like it wasn't the healthiest Kyle Lowry that we've ever seen in the world. But like when you sign a 35, 36-year-old player to that type of contract, you're hoping to at least like this is what we're signing up for the first 1 or 2 years, and then whatever happens after that, you have to adjust and work around it. But like just to the expectation, just everything like starting in the off season, not liking the comments that Pat made about him trying to get in shape, and then I mean he's dealt with personal troubles, which hasn't been great, and I hope all of that's like well.
Yeah, taking care of.
Yeah, like in which he's come out and said that like, that greatly affected him last season. And I don't know if that's something that is affecting that, or at least that was affecting him now. But then, like, it just looked like as the year went on and on and on this year, it was worse and worse and worse. Just from like, he didn't look as interested when he was on the floor. He wasn't like at all aggressive. He was looking to move off the ball. And it was just like me and like a bunch of other like Heat heads were just like, all right, like what's actually going on here? But then
not a pretty situation.
Yeah, like he was also he wasn't also particularly healthy, but he was out for a while. He's come back, and since he's come back, he's actually looked good, or at least better than he was before that extended absence. And so, I mean, I guess that's a breath of fresh air. But like even then, like he's on an expiring this offseason for 29, 30 million. You would think that he is more tradable on that contract now than he was 2 off seasons, or like this last off season, or like even at the deadline. But like even then, like he hasn't necessarily helped his value with the way he's played this year. I don't know how Duncan. I mean, I think Duncan. I can't remember. I think he has like 3 more years left on that deal. Like, how is that? How is that going to shape itself out? Like, Miami doesn't have assets, dude. Like, it's just point blank, period. They don't have a lot of assets. And it's like, again, going back to the luxury tax point, and again, I've talked about this with people. Mickey doesn't want to dip into the luxury tax, but guess what? Miami's projected without the I think it was without the Victor Oladipo like opt out. Right. And not including the possible extensions for Vincent Strus in year 7.
Yeah.
They're already 19. They're projected to pay, I think, 20 million in luxury tax penalties, like even before that. And it's like, you saw what happened this year with this team. You're not in the luxury tax now, but once Tyler's extension kicks in, once Jimmy's extension kicks in, you're gonna have to make some business decisions.
You're gonna be knee deep,
on Robinson. You're gonna be knee deep into this tax, and this team is not a contender.
Well,
you want to pay the luxury tax for a contender. This team is not a contender.
As you say that, Trey Daubert says the kid I interviewed today said the Heat are going to the finals.
Who the fuck are you interviewing?
Oh, the irony is all I can say.
Who are you interviewing? They're not making the finals. They're right now. They'll be lucky to win a series.
Oh man, I mean, what? I mean, yeah, I guess right now they'd be in the 60. They'd play Philly, and
they'd be lucky to beat Philly.
Yeah, I mean,
they've been like there's been some parts of it that have looked better lately. The defense hasn't, obviously, but like the offense has looked better lately. But like they're scrappy enough. Jimmy's been playing like a top 5, top 10 player in the league of late, the last probably 10 games or so. But it's going to be hard to win a series, let alone win the final. Make it to the final. Did you say make it or win the
yeah.
finals?
Here, I'll
They're
go
not
into the
going.
finals.
They're not going to the finals. They're not going to the finals. I would love to be wrong.
You
Last
would
year
take
was their
the you would
best
take the
shot to
field
make
over
the playoffs.
Miami in the East.
Huh?
You take the field in the East over Miami. Oh, here we go.
Yes.
Maryville University kid. On Friday the 28th, which doesn't exist. Well, I guess that'll tell you what you need to know about this. I guess he's a Heat fan. I guess we could conclude, but
So am I. They're not making the finals.
speaking
Come
of
on,
Heat,
stop this nonsense.
former Heat most hated Dwayne Dedman puts up a goose egg against the Denver Nuggets in Joel
Minus
Embiid's
10 in 10
absence.
minutes.
But
I did watch a little bit of this last night. I wasn't able to watch the comeback in the second half, but I did watch a little bit of this, and I did see Dedman was starting. I was like, oh, this can only go so well. And it looked like Doc was like, no, let's put Paul Reed in the game, see how this works. This is going to work considerably better.
Paul Reed 17 minutes. Let's just see how that goes.
Yeah. I mean, Joker, I think it was Carl in our NBA chat was like, yeah, he's like 4 points and an assist away from a triple-double in the first half. And it's just like I mean, looks like Denver's back on track, but like this Nuggets team is silly. Yeah. And this was also like, it sucked because I was looking forward to this, like most people, because it was Embiid versus Jokic, but
exactly,
Harden and Embiid were out with injuries, which sucked. But
apparently, Embiid has not played in Denver against Jokic in like 3 or 4 years or something like that.
Wow,
he's dodging the smoke, I guess. I'm kidding. I'm not gonna.
Well, like okay, with last night with the calf injury, like that's kind of, I think that's linked or like close to linking with like the Achilles. And it's like,
yeah.
So I know Embiid was probably extra super cautious about that.
Of course, yeah. We saw like that's what brought Kevin Durant down not too many years ago. Is that started with his calf and then it went straight to the Achilles.
Yeah. And I think Embiid's also dealt with some Achilles stuff, but
I'm sure. I forget what it was. I guess it was knee when he first got drafted that kept him out his rookie year, or foot or something.
I can't remember.
I don't remember that off the top of my head, but yeah. We'll close out these scores. It's Sunday.
The one game I locked into a lot last night was Kings Wolves.
No beam to be lit. Wow.
They had a chance. The Kings. Well, the reason why I was so locked into it is the Kings had a chance to end their playoff.
The drought.
Yeah. If they won, they would have clinched it. I mean, they're still going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
There's still going to be an opportunity to clinch it. I don't know if it's at home. I don't know what their schedule looks like, but they had the chance to snap that 16-year, 17-year drought.
Yeah, 04, I think it was. So
19. Yeah, instead they went like 5 of 27 from deep, which wasn't great.
Let's see that 5 of 27. I mean, Fox, you'll take that kind of game from Fox. Bonus.
But the fact is, it's like Sacramento is still keeping it close. Like Conley looked good, Gobert looked good.
Yeah, I just saw the whole starting five put up.
Sacramento was still within. Like it was a good game because it was close for the entire game, and so it was like they shot terribly, and yet they still were within like a puncher's chance of at least winning the game. And like that's just the Kings offense. Like it just seems like even when they're having their worst nights, they still put up 120 points. Like it's just at this point,
just turn this team around.
Yeah, I think when I looked it up on StatHead, they had the best offense in NBA history, like this season. And like at least in this day and age, that keeps just getting replicated every year. Like Dallas was like that a couple years ago. I
The
think there's
Nets, obviously.
yeah, and so it's like it's been, but like there's I think there was still like a point or two like ahead of like the next best team. Like this is like a really, really, really good offense. Obviously,
Of
they're
course.
historically good offense, regardless of where they're at in that top 10. They're a good offense.
Yeah. I mean,
So even on their worst nights, I mean, has something to do with Trey's guy, Kevin Herter, a little bit.
I was gonna
Malik
say,
Monk, De'Aaron Fox, Sabonis. Like, this is a really good offense. I mean, Keegan Murray last night was 4 threes away, at least heading into the
I was
night.
gonna say exactly that.
Yeah.
Breaking the rookie record. I mean, just everything. They're firing on all cylinders. I mean, obviously not in this game, but just in general, it is a great story. I think I remember when the Knicks went out to Sacramento and they had that on TNT. It wasn't a pretty game for the Knicks, but it was just you can just tell that Sacramento was a basketball town, to put it lightly.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like I've told you I have a couple Kings fan friends. One of my first roommate in college is a big Kings fan.
Yeah.
And it's like that my first year of college, I told this story before, but my first year of college was I think it was the last year of Dave Yeager, and they were like fighting for the 8th seed, like nearly the entire like second half of the season. And like he was like so stoked, dude. He was like he was so into it. Like that final like 30, 40 games of that season. And it was like cool just from like an outsider's perspective. And like, but they didn't make it. They fired Yeager, and it was just like the most Kings thing ever because he was a good coach. And it was just like, well, like, what are we doing here? But like again, I'll speak from like just personal experience of knowing just like a handful of Kings fans. Like when they're good and when they're like a playoff team, like these fans show up and they get up for this type of stuff.
Absolutely.
Like honestly, like this team, like going to Golden One Center during a playoff series might be hell for an opponent.
Oh yeah.
Just because of how lateral,
imagine
how much they'll be into it. Because again, when you're 16, 17-year drought and your team finally makes the playoffs and they're a good, fun team, like this is a fun Kings team, albeit the defensive struggles, but like this is a team that will put up points and they'll put up points quickly. And it's not like an unenjoyable watch. Again, sometimes defensively, like again, they're a bottom 6 defense, but like regardless, this is a good
score on
team.
you in avalanches.
Yeah, like there'll be times where they'll just rattle off, like if they can get stops, they'll rattle off like an 11-2 run, and just imagine
something
Golden
crazy
One
like
something
in
like
like
that.
in like less than 2 minutes, like something crazy like that. Like,
yeah, and then of course like what we've seen this year from De'Aaron in the fourth quarter, like he leads the league in fourth quarter points.
He's a closer.
Yeah, like he'll win that whatever. I don't even remember what year, like what award. I think it's like maybe it's the Jerry West Award, something like that, for like the most clutch player in the league. Like that's his to lose, but like of course last night he wasn't great. But like just in general throughout this entire season, like when they've been in close games against some of these teams, like they find ways to pull it out, and that's been a large part of De'Aaron. And then like they're just shot making is just really good.
Yeah, it is elite. Yeah,
except last night, but
and like Sabonis is putting up like Wilt Chamberlain stat lines, and it's just a great story. I think even if you hate the Kings, like I guess maybe the Warriors and the Lakers fans, they don't love the Sacramento Kings, but obviously we're Eastern Conference team fans. I have a lot of respect and admiration for the Kings and their fans.
I don't think they hate the Kings. I think the Kings fans hate them.
Yeah, because they've been like kind of the little brother,
or at least the Kings fans that I know don't like the Lakers, and for reasons like 02 and 03, like they don't like the Lakers because of the BS that happened.
The officiating, yeah, we could spend.
But I don't know if Lakers fans feel that same like
that vitriol.
Kind of like, again, you can relate to this more than me, but like Yankees Mets, like
yeah. It's like it's like
Mets hate the Yankees again for it's different reason, but like kind of like that same principle, like the one-sided hatred.
Yes, and it's like Derek Jeter said, we didn't hate the Mets; they were just the Mets to us. It's just like Lakers fans are like they're just the Kings to us.
Right.
No real bad blood, and it's just I mean, Just any other games that you were watching or keeping tabs on last night?
Here, go back and look at them. I mean,
Wow,
Suns
Pelicans
Jazz
really
wasn't
smoked the
great.
Blazers.
Although I did have a teaser where I had Jazz plus 13.5, so that sucked. Clippers Bulls, I didn't see a lot of that game, but that was a fun game. I mean, the Clippers, I think when I looked at this morning, they had 7 double-figure scores. I mean, and of course, like Russ has just from what I've seen, has just looked better with the Clippers than he has the Lakers. Bones Highland's getting minutes. There was a weird story that broke like mid-game last night about Nick Batum starting the rest of the season. Or it may have not broken, but I saw it like mid-game where they announced at some point yesterday that that Batum's going to start the rest of the season, and I think it was Covington's going to get like the backup 5 minutes. So I mean, I guess I kind of like made true yesterday, and they're just not going to play Markieff anymore, which makes sense because Markieff Morris, I don't know how much you've seen of the Clippers this year, but Markieff Morris, when he's on the floor, has not been good at all.
Really? I remember when he was on the Knicks, he was just hitting everything.
He has not been good.
Wow.
He's
on a pretty decent contract, I think.
Yeah, like they have multiple players, but yeah, he has not been good at all.
Wow.
And I've seen it also just from like Clippers fans I follow on Twitter, but like just from what I've also seen, like he has not been good. Bones is at least there's not anything that's come out yet about him hating his own team's point guard. So maybe I was a little wrong on that Bones Highland, but regardless.
Yeah, I mean,
I like Bones the players, just like all the drama and shit that we've heard.
Exactly.
Is it
worth it?
Like before he got traded, and then when he got traded, it's like maybe there's a reason why he was traded for a couple seconds or whatever the trade was.
Yeah, definitely something at work.
Yeah, but he's like the stuff with Bones is like when you watch it defensively, he's not that good, and he's still working on it. But like you could see the potential like offensively as like a secondary creator
with the ball in his hands.
Yeah. And so it's like from that perspective, like you don't want to sell a young player like that for just like a second round pick or two.
Pennies on the dollar.
Yeah. But like, again, with all like the drama and like at least the perceived beef that he may have had with Jamal, right, and all the other drama shit, like maybe there was something there that we didn't know behind the scenes. But like again, like I'm glad at least everything seems to be working out with him on the Clippers, and then with Russ on the Clippers, and
it's finally starting to come together. I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's any other games you have, I was going to check out the Western standings one last time.
Yeah. Let's check. Let's look at it. I mean, it's because you have to look at it every day. It's something different.
Yeah.
Every day it's like, wait. The Lakers,
the Mavericks are how far out of the play-in? Yeah, the Mavs are only half a game, but I heard if OKC wins, because OKC is the tiebreaker on Dallas, it would be pretty much a 2-game, gap.
Guess who else has entered the play-in? The Golden State Warriors, because of last night's Minnesota win. Shout
out the Timberwolves. They've kind of gone under the radar. Obviously, Cat had that very, very, very long injury that he was out for, and he's back. And
right. Last night was like the first big chunk of like Minnesota basketball that I've watched since he's came back. Or he didn't play last night, but like kind of since that return.
Right.
And you see they're on a 4-game winning streak, and it just looks better with Conley. Like I'll be honest, like I was kind of at with like the Conley trade. I mean, yeah, the contract isn't great. He's past his prime, obviously, but like
compared to D'Angelo,
it just looks better. Like he is. Conley's like the quintessential floor general at this stage of his career. Even at this stage of his career, he's like the quintessential like table setter.
He reminds me of Jimmy Garoppolo in a way. Nothing too flashy. He'll get you the ball. Oh, here we go.
When he says he does, I know Trey doesn't like D'Angelo Russell and Russell Westbrook, so it's kind of hard in that context.
We just kind of lump them together.
I don't think he's a cancer. Come on.
I mean, he's all right when he's healthy and playing. He's been not terrible on the Lakers, but still,
Yeah.
shout out
And he was
LeBron.
good the last several weeks in Minnesota, but he's not like it. Just the offense just flows better, I think, with Conley.
Oh, I agree for that team.
Yeah.
He'll get the ball to Edwards. He'll get the ball to Cat
Yeah.
and Gobert, and
And he looked good last
hasn't.
night. So.
Yeah, they're doing a lot better, and shout out to them. And I mean, it looks like a team that is starting to fall out a little bit is the Utah Jazz. They are, and also even the Blazers. I saw that quote from Damian Lillard about, this is not how I want to be spending my time in this league, being on the outside of the playoffs looking in, and I feel bad.
When are we going to stop with the Damian Lillard, let's trade him, or like the Damian Lillard trade talk conversation?
I think you just got to trade him now. I think we've just gotten to that point where it's just like, he's been here for a long time. He's done great things as one of the greatest Blazers in history. But like, one Western Conference Finals is not enough for your resume to stand out.
But like, we keep doing this every single year, and he hasn't made any indication that he even wants to be traded. So why do we keep doing this might be the last game we see him in a Blazers uniform? Like, when are we going to stop that kind of thing? Like, he's made zero indication that he wants to get traded. I think he might have a no trade clause. And so it's like it and it's also like our fault collectively as the media, because we keep asking the same damn question to him and he keeps responding the same exact way because that's really how he truly feels, and that's perfectly okay. It's perfectly okay, but it's like we also have to do a better job of just like not asking him the same damn question every single freaking time. In like the context of like, hey Dame, like, do you want out? Yeah. Like, let's just stop collectively. Let's like ask him about like the basketball games. But like even then, like, we can't do this every year. At least for me, it's just more so annoying at this point. It's the same thing with Bradley Beal.
Yeah, well, they're both in the same boat in my book. I agree that just I don't know if you want to use the word castaways or whatever. They're just kind of vibing out in their own situation, not really caring about the playoffs or anything like that. Or I guess Dame cares about the playoffs, maybe not Beal as much.
They care about it. They're just more so like they also have lives outside. Like Damian's talked about it on JJ's podcast. Like he has a life in Portland outside of basketball, and sometimes teaming up with other superstars or whatnot is not a priority. And that's perfectly okay. It's perfectly okay.
Yeah. And same with Beal. I guess, in DC there's a lot going on. But, I mean, it's a complicated situation, but also not complicated when you just, like you just said, just kind of cut through the BS and just say, they're not interested. At least if you take them at their word, they're not interested.
At least, like, until they are outwardly, like, trade me, then it's not worth having a discussion. Yeah. I mean, we could do the theorizing all day, like, okay, what if Damian Lillard teamed up with player X or player Y or player Z? But at the same time, it's like we keep entertaining the same shit over and over. Like this is like the third or fourth straight off season where we're just like, is this going to be Damian Lillard's last game? Like Shams, I think I saw a quote from him yesterday that he pretty much said, like, it's worth having the discussion in the offseason, whether it's going to be Dame's last year. It's just like, how many times are we going to keep doing this? Again, that's just like a personal annoyance. It doesn't annoy everyone, but it annoys me just from like a discourse standpoint, because it's like we keep having these same discussions and nothing keeps happening. So why do we keep having these same discussions?
I feel that. I totally agree. But I think we have a pretty good turning point here, as Trey asks, when are you guys sending me a trade offer for Anthony Volpe?
I'm not.
I think we can use that as a little springboard into Major League Baseball now. As
I'm not
we're days away.
I'm not playing GMing with Trey for a player who hasn't played a single Major League game yet. I'm not doing it. I'm not trading Trey Turner for Anthony Volpe. Trey, I'm not doing it. I'm not trading my best player or whoever the fuck you want for Volpe. I'll entertain it maybe mid-season. I'm not doing it now. Not doing it.
I'll entertain it, but I have a pretty clear limit as to what I'm willing to give up.
I traded you Huberto. That was enough. I'm not doing it.
Huberto. Yeah, we could talk about Huberto, but he's not doing too great these days. But I cannot wait for Major League Baseball. It is almost here, Matt. Yankees,
I'm
Garrett
ready,
Cole.
man.
Garrett Cole is finally ready to shove a little bit. Obviously, the rest of that pitching staff we don't have to go into too much detail about, but opening day, Logan Webb. Of course, it has to be the San Francisco Giants against the Yankees after the Yankees beat them twice to the punch in free agency. But
Oh man, that's still like I talked about this with you before, but like my Giant fan friends, like I find that to be just like what are the odds do you think Judge homers on either opening day or the second game? Like it's got to be
it's got to be close to like evens.
Like just from like a storyline standpoint. Like, oh my goodness, Aaron Judge homers against the team that he nearly signed with. Like that makes for
it's gotta happen. It's gotta happen.
But no, like I do this. I've talked to Trey about this. I may have talked to you about this. There comes a point in every, I guess, cycle with my teams where it's like, all right, I finally talked myself into this team being a good team, or at least like a capable team. There's some exceptions to the rule. Like last year, I wasn't necessarily in on New York. If I'm being completely honest, it was like this. I mean, after watching it was it last year or was it 2 years ago? Either way,
2 years. Like, last year they were just off that crazy start that panned into.
Well, no, just like before the season.
Right. Yeah.
Before the season, like I usually I get to a point where it's like, all right, I can talk myself into this team being a good team. Like I did it with Minnesota last year. I think I had the post on the site where it's saying they'll make the playoffs. I don't think it was that big of a hot take, but it was like kind of like my affirmation of like, I think this team will be a good team. Breaking news: I think this Yankee team will also be a decent, like a pretty good team this year.
Trey, I'm sorry, they're not finishing fourth in the AL East. They're not going to finish behind.
Yeah, over under what place do you 3.5? No, I'm just kidding. But like again, shouldn't be breaking news because I mean this team is expected to be a fairly good team, right?
Yeah, their payroll suggests that they should be a good team.
Like I did it with Miami this last year, even though I probably shouldn't have in hindsight. But it's like I talked myself into this team being a good team. Didn't always happen. You have hits, you have misses. But no, man, I mean, this rotation has gotten to complete shit over the last 3 weeks because of injuries, which isn't great. But I'm still like, I think their Vegas over under is 94.5.
I think that's a good line, honestly.
I would lean towards the under, but like,
I mean, I would too. I was thinking maybe if it was 92.5, I'd probably hit the over, but 91.
Like even 94 wins. Like this is that's 99. That's a good mark.
Yeah,
that's a good mark. At least like, but it's also like 2019 was like the year I look back on. Like, remember how injured they were? Just like Andujar went down in like the third game. Like Stanton got hurt, and it's like you're seeing guys like Mike Tauchman and Tyler Wade come up, and like just all of these guys that like not. I mean, Wade we knew of a little bit beforehand, but like just guys like the next man up. That was like the next man up Yankees season, and they won 103 games or something like that.
Yeah, just like,
so it's not completely out of the realm. Like the Yankee, like Matt Blake, like I'd say has done a pretty good job, kind of implementing and fostering an environment for the pitching staff, and like the pitching staff has been like fairly good.
Absolutely,
each of the last 2 seasons or since Blake has arrived, and. Like, were you able to watch Johnny Brito?
I was not, unfortunately.
I mean, I'm not going to talk myself into Johnny Brito being like a good starter or anything, but like, there's something there that he could like at least hold down the fort for a couple weeks, and it's like, okay, like this isn't terrible. Like
maybe he could be a number 5 starter when everyone's healthy or something like that.
Yeah, well, he's right now. I think he's projected to start the 3rd game against San Francisco, okay. but he was like the one like outlier in the rotation because I think the other ones like Nestor's, because how it's set up right now is Cole Schmidt. I think Brito will be that other guy in the rotation.
Then Herman also, I guess.
Nestor and Domingo,
Domingo.
rounding it out. But like, it's just crazy how you think about this stuff because it's like heading into spring. It's like, all right, now Clark is fighting for like the 5th spot in the rotation with Domingo. And it's like, all right, now he's the number 2. Like, oh my God, like how quickly things change in this. And it's just like, it's just gone to complete hell. I think it'll still be like mediocre, like middle of the pack, at least until at least the Yankees start getting guys back. But like, even then it's just like, but like, even like there's something there with Brito. Maybe we can get like a phantom good Domingo start. Hopefully,
exactly. Just
his
kind of out of nowhere.
Like maybe I don't think it's gonna be like worst case scenario. Okay, whatever. Trey, it would have been better if you said Davey. All right, would have been funnier. But like even then, like it's not the worst thing in the world, but certainly not great. But no, like, where do you kind of stand on it?
I mean, I'm pretty much with you. Like, the expectation is, and look, I don't like to give Trey credit, but he did know a thing or two about Carlos Rodon and his injury history. Obviously, we didn't expect it to kick in this early into his Yankees tenure, but I mean, we said it in the MLB, the Vendetta baseball fantasy draft. Like, Andrew picked him up in like the 11th round or something, and that guy was, at least in one of the past 2 seasons, he finished top 5 in Cy Young voting in either the American League or National League. Like, he's a good pitcher. He's got good stuff, but he's just got to find a way to stay healthy and stay on the field. It's kind of almost, I'm worried it turns into an Anthony Davis situation where kind of around the league, his talent, what he's capable of, but you just, the injuries find a way to get to them rather than they find a way to get injured, it's just like they, and obviously he didn't have a great start to life in spring training as a Yankee. And, I don't want to, I don't want to have existential crises about Carlos Rodon this early, but, Severino was obviously pissed off also last season for his spot in the rotation. And, he's already, number 3 last year behind Cole and Nasty Nestor, but, now he's going to be number 4. And
he's also hurt.
Yeah. He's also hurt, and I don't even want to talk about Frankie Montas. What a disaster that guy.
Yeah, well, like with Severino, it's supposed to be like a low grade, like I think it was a lat injury.
And I thought it was oblique for some reason, but lat.
It was something like that, but it was kind of not similar, but like it was like almost like the same injury that happened to him last year. And so it's not like, hopefully there's like a quicker recovery.
Yeah,
because I don't think it's as serious. But with like Frankie, like it sucks because when the Yankees traded for him, he was like a few starts removed from the same shoulder injury that he had, and he wasn't. He came out and said a couple weeks ago he wasn't 100% healthy, which it's like I respect him trying to fight through it, but at the same time it's like it's the same. Why do I owe you an apology over Montas? Did I say he was going to be phenomenal? I don't remember saying that. But like he wasn't 100% healthy, and then I don't remember what his ERA was or what his numbers were, but it wasn't good.
Yeah,
he was eventually put on the IL at the end of the season, and then the same injury happens to spike up beginning of the season or like preseason. It's just.
Right.
It's not. He might not pitch this year. I mean, that's the one way him and Efros could be put on like the 60-day.
I'm so upset about Efros too.
Efros is gross. He's nasty stuff, but again, Tommy John, I think, sucks.
After the year, would have been such a big piece of the bullpen. Also,
yeah, but like I think he and Efros can be put on like the 60-day IL.
Oh, really?
So that, yeah, but like that could open up a spot for Volpe, because Volpe wasn't on the 40-man roster. And I think I want to say I saw something to where they said they're not going to put Frankie on there, but I don't know.
Really?
I want to say I saw something. I don't know how true that is. I'll have to look it up later. But like, they could do that if they want to for the 40-man
Right.
roster to open up a spot for Volpe. Like it's not like they're not going to have to like make a trade. I mean, there's been talks about them trading IKF for I don't know how long now. Like even reporters, even like the roster projections from like legitimate Yankee reporters don't have IKF on there because they think he's going to get traded. So he might get traded. I don't know, but
I mean,
if not, he's going to be just a super utility guy. And
exactly. He's a jack of all trade, master of none. Which I don't know.
he'll play catcher. I'm just kidding.
He'll play catcher.
Well, he has played catcher before, which is just something I always forget. But he might be like a backup catcher.
Good cover for Trevino and Higashioka if need be, I guess.
But anyways, yeah, no, I'm ready for the season. I'm at the point where it's like I'm ready to watch to see just not
I'm ready
what
to go,
but just what's kind of in store for the rest of the league. Do you have any like weird are there teams that you're looking out for per se, or are there teams that you're keeping an eye on that isn't the Yankees? Because I know we just went on like a massive Yankees talk.
One team I am kind of thinking about a little bit on a low key is the Texas Rangers, because we've just seen them just put so much money into their roster, getting big names like Marcus Semien and Corey Seager, obviously DeGrom this past offseason, and like they do have good players, they have talent there, but they've just never been able to put it all together. And obviously, we can talk about the Mets and the whole Kumar Rocker thing, and he's going to start the season in the minors for Texas. But, imagine that pitching staff. If DeGrom ever decided to play, longer into the future, you put Rocker there, you have a bunch of other guys I forget also, but could be a really good pitching staff. And obviously, it's just a matter of, filling in the holes in the roster. Obviously, you have a great middle infield, but, I'd like to see Texas finally do something, because I remember back in the day when they were always in the equation, at least in the American League, back with back when they were fighting the Yankees in the playoffs and stuff like that. It's kind of crazy how far they've fallen, but I'm wondering if they're actually going to make a actual step forward in their rebuild.
Yeah, that AL West is interesting to me because it's like
a lot of going on out there.
Part of me wants to pencil in Houston is like, yeah, they're going to win the division. Like, they're like they are the favorite, obviously, because the World Series champions are one of the best teams in baseball. They just acquired Jose Abreu. They're still a good team. But like a part of me is interested. Like I do kind of, not the Rangers specifically, but I am very curious because they did hire Bochy, who's one of the more respected managers in baseball. Rangers better than Angels. I don't hate that take.
I don't hate it either.
Like they did one of the ads, or a couple of the ads they got in the offseason was they got Eovaldi, who's kind of like, I think he's gonna, I don't know if he's hurt or gonna start the season on IL, but I know he's dealt with some stuff over like in the spring. I want to say it was with his back. I can't remember exactly what it was, but like he's like a fine number two. Like they got John Gray last year, who wasn't bad. I think they got, I want to say, was that the team that Ross Stripling also went to? Or am I thinking
it could have been, actually?
Yeah, like
now that you say it,
like they got a decent amount of arms. Martin Perez was one of the better, like, sneaky good pitchers in baseball last
year.
Yeah. And so it's like they have like a decent amount of arms with, like, after spending $500 million for Semien and Seager.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't hate their team. Like, pull up their roster really quick.
Yeah.
Or look at their depth chart. I want to see what they have. Am I crazy? Is that the one that? No. It wasn't Stripling. It was Andrew Heaney. That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, that's right.
Stripling went to someone else. Who did he go to? Oh, whatever. I'll think about it later. The Yankee legend Andrew Heaney.
Yankee legend Andrew Heaney.
Goodness gracious. I don't want to remember any of his stars from in New York. But anyways, like they don't have like Semien came, like he started out really slow, but he came into his own a little bit in the second half of the season. Seager will be one of the players that will benefit from the no shift.
Yeah.
This year, I believe. Adolis Garcia just rakes. Nathaniel Lowe also rakes.
Yes.
They have I don't know if they're a playoff team per se, but I don't hate your take about them like being
They'll be in the mix, I feel like.
like Jose Leclerc is nasty. Will Smith is also like he's struggled a little bit, but like there's still some like potential there if he can find it put together. And Bochy's always done a good job of like managing the bullpen and everything. So
I think what we could see is similar to how the Dolphins or the Miami Marlins were last year, where they weren't completely terrible. There's actually like something worth paying attention to there. Like obviously Sandy Alcantara wins the Cy Young, like stuff like that. But it wasn't, it wasn't a completely depressing season for Marlins fans. And I feel like we could see something like that for the Rangers, where there's actually like, hey, we did a thing.
I mean, it wasn't the. It was a little bit of a bad season for me.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I'm not.
I know. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. But like the AL West is weird because it's like the Angels like. Right, Trey just said Rangers over Angels, but like I also just like the Angels like pitching staff more now than I have in years past with Sandoval and Reed Detmers and I mean I know they did lose Syndergaard, but I mean he got traded at the deadline, but like Tyler Anderson isn't terrible. Like of course Ohtani, we know like what he's capable of. Yes. If Rendon can stay healthy,
he's still
for one season. In
former Yankee legend Gio Urshela.
Yeah, Gio. I didn't know he was playing. Yeah, no, okay, that makes sense. He's playing shortstop. But like, they got Hunter Renfroe, who might be a trade deadline candidate if they're like not good. So it's like I don't hate their roster either. I like Brandon Drury, former Yankee legend Brandon Drury. But like they don't have the worst roster in the world, but I think we also say that every year and some bad happens.
They finished last in the division.
Or multiple bad things happen and you all of a sudden you look and they're like they won 65 games and it's like, wait, what?
Come again?
Yeah, so again, it's another year of being bullish on the Angels for no apparent reason.
Matt Moore.
Oh my goodness. No. Aaron Loop, not terrible.
Yeah,
but they do. I don't like their bullpen that much though, which is like, do they have the arms to like if they fall behind in the game early, like or something, or closing down a game could be an issue. But I do like their rotation more this year than I have in past years. I mean. Sandoval was like we saw it in the WBC a little bit, but he was one of the better pitchers that they had the second half of the season last year.
Absolutely.
Tyler Anderson again isn't the worst arm ever. He's
I think number 2.
Reliable, yeah. So it's like again, I like it more this year than I have in past years. I feel like, but like Taylor Ward was like another one who got injured midway through the middle of last season. Wasn't the same. I mean, he was like the rookie. He was like what? I don't think he was in contention for rookie of the year. I don't believe. Maybe he was, but like he was one of their best hitters in like the first couple of months, and then tailed off a little bit. So, is there any other teams of interest that like in either the like who in the NL are you looking out for if there is?
I mean, for me personally in the NL. I was like thinking about it. Like obviously I'm gonna be looking at the Phillies, but that's like not really like a surprise. Like they were in the World Series last year. But for me, I honestly think a team I may keep an eye out for is the the Cubs.
Okay.
Like I think I'm personally a fan of Dansby Swanson. Like you saw me pick him up in fantasy. I think Bellinger, I think he just needs to play anywhere except the Dodgers. I think it just kind of just got to him. Maybe it was more of a mental thing than an ability thing, but I think they had a pretty decent offseason. Obviously, Swanson, like he's going to be their big name player, and obviously it's going to be an uphill climb in that division because obviously you have the Cardinals, especially when you see Wilson Contreras just jump ship to the Cardinals. Like I can't. Oh, what am I doing? This is the Reds.
They had Jameson Taillon,
former Yankee, Jameson Taillon, Marcus Stroman. Like I mean, they have some names. But I don't
Nico
know.
Werner just got signed to a 3-year
Yeah,
extension yesterday.
I think I like Nico Werner. I think and Eric Hosmer, like I think he may have a similar effect to what Hosmer did in Boston. Just a good veteran presence, a steady hand in the infield.
Mancini.
Yeah, shout out Trey Mancini.
I
Yep.
completely forgot Michael Fulmer was on this team too.
They got some guys, and I'm interested in seeing also how Seiya Suzuki does. I think he's gonna obviously like Yoshida with the Red Sox. I think it's gonna be guys we look out for how they adapt to the MLB and Ian Happ. They don't have completely nothing. And then I don't know much about their prospect pool if they have any big names coming up there, but
I'm looking right now, actually. They have Wisniewski from former Yankees farmhand. I don't think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's not on this depth chart though, I don't think, but I'm looking on Fangraphs and he's on their depth chart.
Yeah, he's
as their fifth guy. I remember a little bit of him.
yeah.
But no, I'm not completely against you in that regard. That is a team. I don't think they're going to be that good just by the end of it, but I don't hate some of the names that they have.
Yeah. We see Trey's
overrated GM of all time, Theo.
Not a Theo Epstein fan.
Not a Theo Epstein. Dude, he broke the curse. He's broke multiple curses.
But
and he's not even there anymore. Like what?
I don't know.
But yeah, I don't know how good they'll be by the end, but like I don't hate some of the names that they have out there.
Yeah. I mean just a little interesting, just something worth watching. I also might keep an eye out on the Diamondbacks. I want to see how Corbin Carroll does.
Yeah, current 99 Problems legend, Corbin Carroll.
Oh my gosh. Oh, let's see. He left at a convenient. Theo left at a convenient time, huh?
Okay. Let's see.
I mean, we could
pull up their roster.
Oh, I can hear. Let me.
I'm not. Yeah, like. I mean, of course, yeah. They got Moreno. They got Alec
Christian
Thomas.
Walker, Marte.
Actually, yeah. Alec Thomas is on the big league roster.
Yeah.
They have. I mean, considering fun fact, the Reno Aces is the AAA team for Arizona, so I'll see some of their younger guys play at least a little bit. But I'm trying to look up and see. There was someone who was sent down yesterday that surprised me from their team. Who the hell was it? Oh, maybe I'll find it later. But like, I mean, of course, they also have Merrill Kelly, also current 99 Problems legend in and of itself right now. I mean, Ketel Marte, I hope has like a bounce back season.
Yeah,
I completely forgot Evan Longoria was on this team.
Yes, me too.
To be really honest with you, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. is like a name that you and I saw when he was in Toronto, and he definitely has the potential to be a big bat.
Yep.
I don't know how often he's going to play, but like Josh Rojas, I've had him in fantasy before.
Yeah,
he's not a bad player. He's going to be playing all around the diamond. I feel like. Again, I like Moreno. I think that was kind of like a good two-way trade for Toronto and New York when they traded Varsho to Toronto. But like Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly, like I remember looking at this like last year, like just in the second half of the season, like especially Gallen, like they were really, really, really good pitchers. At least down the stretch. At least I know Gallen was.
You have a great vet like Bumgarner in there, just a guy who's been there, winning World Series, being a number one pitcher for a contender. He kind of, you can't have a much better voice in the locker room for these guys than Mad Bum.
Unfortunately, though, he has not been.
No, he has not been
good. They signed him to be.
At all. 5 years, $90 million or something like that.
I don't remember what it was, but
Yeah,
it wasn't.
something
So it
not
wasn't something that
ideal.
panned out.
Yeah, to put
Um,
it lightly.
yeah. What are some other teams that have been? There are a few of the teams that I'm interested in, just from like one team that I am keeping an eye on that I know I don't know if I say it shouldn't because they're going to be a good team, but the Dodgers.
Oh yeah,
It's
the
weird
Dodgers are the
because I've
Dodgers.
seen a lot of are the Dodgers going to be as good this year as they've been in the past? Like I think 4 of the last 6 years they've won 100 games, and the one of the years that they didn't was obviously the COVID shortened season.
Yep.
But like this, they lost Trey Turner, they lost Bellinger, but it's like even when they've lost guys, it hasn't come back and bit them.
They just find a way.
Yeah, like they just like who did they lose? They lost Seager and they lost, I want to say someone else like 2 years ago. And it's like,
Yeah,
oh, they
I mean
still
they
won
just lost
100.
Justin Turner. They lost
Yeah, they still won like what, a buck 11, something like
yeah,
that last year.
something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, like so it's like, and I remember I was looking at their over under just like for betting purposes, and it's like I think it was like 94, 94 and a half, like kind of around the same where New York was. And it's just like, does Vegas know something that I don't?
Yeah,
Like I kind of like that value.
I really like that
Just
value.
in terms of like, I think Julio, again, 99 Problems legend. I'm just shouting out my guys at this point. Like Julio, I think will have another good season. Kershaw, I know is a little bit over the hump, but I think he'll have a good season. Dustin May, who was injured for most of last year, is now like the fourth guy in the rotation. Noah Syndergaard was like sneaky good last year when he was with
good value for the Dodgers. Very good value.
Yeah, and it's like they know how to maximize the potential of the pitchers that they have. Like I know they're not going with like a full closer right now, but like Brewster Gratterall and Evan Phillips are both filthy. Like
they got some really nasty stuff.
Like I think Trinan's injured right now. I don't know how long. I can't remember the exact prognosis of it, but like they do have some players who are injured right now. Of course, Gavin Lux is out for the year, which sucks.
Yeah, it does suck.
But like Vargas is a prospect that was good in AA and AAA.
Yeah.
And
Rojas is interesting.
Rookie season.
Yeah.
Of course, they have Freddie Freeman. I think Max will have a bounce back year, especially with no shift.
I think JD's going to have a good year also.
JD is, I mean, he's talked about it. Of course, we saw him when he was in Boston. He's a legitimate, like, psychopath freak show when it comes to, like, the video and the film. And, like, looking at, like, his swing path and how he swings, I can't help but believe he'll correct that. I mean, remember when he had the 4 home run game when he was in Arizona in Dodger Stadium against the Dodgers? Like,
talk about full circle.
Yeah, but, like, I mean, even though he's 30, I think he's mid-30s.
Yeah,
like 34. Like, I still think he'll have a decent season, or at least like.
I mean, they're now with
a good reclamation project to take a flyer on if you're someone who needs a hitter. I mean, Mookie is Mookie. Like, he's a perennial NL MVP candidate every year. Same with Freddie. But like I don't.
Guys are gonna carry the ship here.
Yeah, like Will Smith is one of the best catchers in baseball. Like I don't hate their roster. And it's like I still think they could find a way to squeak out 95 wins, 96 wins. Like
still a damn good team
at minimum. I mean, again, they're going to have to overcome some of the injuries that they have right now. Let me see if I could find it. But
I was going to say with Turner leaving and now Gavin Lux out for the year, it's going to be tough in the middle infield. But I think Miguel Rojas is an interesting option.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the bat was a little hit and miss when he was in Miami, but he's not like the worst shortstop in the world, right?
No, I think he'll
like
definitely
he's probably one of the like middle to bottom tier shortstops in the league, but
yeah,
it's still not the worst you can do. I would think.
And knowing the Dodgers, they may just pull off some BS trade for like I don't even know.
Yeah,
I don't know
right.
which superstar shortstops are available right now, but
Right.
they just always find a way. And obviously,
Trade
as
for
a
IKF. They won't.
yeah, exactly. We got a beautiful IKF, free of costs. Just take his salary,
Team guy.
all
Willing
you
to
need.
win.
They love to spend money, so IKF has got a pretty nice salary that you can pay him. But obviously, also I was thinking as Yankees fans, I love to hypothesize about Shohei Ohtani and pinstripes, but I think he's got it. I think he's
No,
bound
he's
for the Dodgers. He's got to
some
go there.
weird, sick part of me believes that Yoshida will recruit him. I hope not.
Don't even say that. Don't let Trey hear you say that.
I mean, I'm not the first person who's probably said that.
Fair enough.
And also, let me think of like any other teams that I'm really looking out for. I mean, just staying on the NL West track, I am intrigued by the Giants. I don't love their lineup, and we'll get a taste of that. I mean, Tyro and Lamont Wade are like not the worst ones. You can have Jock was good last year. I think Yaz will be better this year. I know he's slotted at the bottom of the order right
I think
now.
if Hendrick can stay healthy,
Right. But the part that I like about their roster is their pitching staff. Like, I like their pitching staff a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm too naive, but like Logan Webb was really damn good last year, and we're going to see that on opening day.
Yep.
Alex Cobb isn't bad. I mean, I like Ross was the one that Ross was the guy the Giants. That's what. Okay, all right. But like Sean Manaea and Ross Stripling are like they're not the worst players in the world to kind of replace the production that Rodon left. I mean, losing Rodon obviously sucks.
It hurts.
And of course, not signing Aaron Judge, and Carlos Correa, like that also sucks just from like a fan perspective. But like, I don't hate Mitch Haniger. I mean, I know he'll be out a little bit, but like, I don't hate Mitch Haniger. Conforto's a little bit of a weird wild card because I don't think he played last year.
It's a bit of a gamble.
Yeah, but like Wilmer Flores still has some pop in the bat a little bit. Like they have the Tyler Rogers combination in the bullpen, which is gross. Like I don't know how much you've seen Tyler Rogers pitch, but like he's got that submarine style, and it's just like
really
something that I would hate to go up against if I was someone in the batter's box, especially as a left-handed hitter when that sweeping slider is coming right at me. Like they have Discofani, who's not listed in the rotation here, but like he's another one who's going to be like kind of like a long relief kind of 6-starter option that they have. Camilo Duval is gross. Like his stuff is effing filthy. And so it's like I like the pitching staff that they've kind of assembled amid the loss of Rodon. And so that's the kind of team I'm intrigued by. I think their over under when I looked at it was 81. I don't know if I want to go above or below that.
Yeah, 81's a bit of a tough number.
Yeah. Like Brandon, I mean, of course they also did lose Brandon Belt, which guess what team he's on now? He's on Toronto. I mean, Brandon Belt wasn't good last year. He's had a problem staying healthy the last few seasons. With the exception of the COVID or like the last 2 seasons specifically, but
right.
So he's a veteran presence that they lost. I mean, Buster Posey was another one that they lost. I mean, they've lost some veteran leadership over the last couple of seasons. I don't know how much that's going to affect them this year.
Right.
With Bart now having his second full season. I think his second full season, either first or second full season. He played last year. I don't know if it was a full season, but his first, I guess at least his first full season in behind the plate. Again, with I hope Tyro and Lamont Wade will kind of remain that same or kind of maintain their production that they had last year. I mean, I know I have a couple of Giants friends, and they love, or at least they loved Tyro, former Yankee legend Tyro Estrada. Brandon Crawford's now like one of his last seasons. I mean, I don't know if you saw the Sergio Romo.
Yeah, I did. That was a
That
tearjerker.
was really cool.
Yeah.
Again, I think Yaz will be better. I still have no idea what I'm going to get out of Conforto.
Right.
If I'm being completely honest with you, I just don't. I say that now, and he's going to hit like some bullshit Yankee Stadium short porch home run in the coming days.
He's gonna pop one.
That's going to be cool. But like they're a team I'm interested by, or I'm fascinated by. Let's move to the AL.
I mean, you saw it. I just put up Trey's comment. He's got the he's believing in the Orioles.
I think I was looking at their over under. I was thinking about betting it too. I think it was low. I think it was like 78.5.
Oh,
maybe I'm thinking of someone else.
You remember from the fantasy baseball draft? I am all in on the Adley Rutschman superstar breakout season this year.
And I was pissed off. Andrew fucking stole Gunner from me. I was going to take my next pick, but he's like, no, I'm going to go with this upside pick. He was choosing between like 4 guys. I was like, man, like I didn't say anything, but in my head, I was like, man, like I wanted that pick. I wanted to just lean in on rookies who haven't played anything but have high upside. But yeah, no, like
I mean, Cedric Mullins is a stud.
But also at the same time, I don't know if they can replicate the same magic they had last year. Because it's like they were a fun team, no doubt, but I'm still curious, like how much of that, like their biggest offseason acquisition was Adam Frazier.
I argue there.
Kyle Gibson was another. Cole Irvin was another. Like, but I'm still wondering, like, what is their like? To me, they have a varying range of outcomes, and I don't necessarily know how they won 83 games last year.
Yeah, something like.
And it was like 83 that no one expected. Which, I mean, again, they had a lot of. This will be the first full season of Gunner. This will be Adley's second season. So it's like they have obviously young like potential there. Like, is Cedric Mullins going to be able to replicate what he did last year? Like, what? I'm high on Mountcastle obviously because I
need to
fantasy, but like what? I'm trying to. They're a weird team to me. I could see them finishing second or third in the AL East, but I could also see them finishing fifth.
And that it goes to show like just how like volatile the AL East is. Like anything could really happen. Like
I'll be honest, Trey's in here. I'll have that same thought about Boston. If I'm being completely honest with you, I would consider myself a little higher than the consensus on Boston, but they also have a varying range of outcomes.
Absolutely.
Like with Yoshida, with like, is Justin Turner, is he gonna replicate the production that JD had last year? Is their rotation going to stay healthy? I know it's already beaten up already. Like, how are they going to replace Waka? Is Chris Sale going to be Chris Sale again? Like, they're another team where it's like I find myself like I could see this team being a good, like, I like their lineup on paper. Like Adam Duvall is like a sneaky 30 home run guy. I think Verdugo, Yoshida, Devers obviously like will have good seasons. I like Tristan Casas. I think Tristan Casas will be a good player. He might be their leadoff hitter by opening day or sometime during the season.
I personally like Reese McGuire also.
Reese McGuire he wasn't bad last year sneakily when he was in Boston.
However,
screwed without Xander. I mean, that's the varying range of outcomes that I'm talking about. Like, they might suck. They might be they might kind of sneak their way into a possible AL wildcard spot. I don't know. That's where I'm like, I think they did a good job earlier. I think Hine did a good job fixing that bullpen because it was so shitty last year.
Yeah.
But I mean, if their rotation can at least like get healthier and stay healthy, again, I know Paxton will be out for a little while. I know Whitlock will be out for a while. Brian Bayo, who might be their best pitcher, isn't healthy at all right.
Here's Trey's wishes.
I hope they suck and fire Bloom. Okay.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Listen, I'm not gonna I hope they suck too. out of my personal
I
interest.
mean, obviously, we have a reason for hoping that, but I mean, finding Trevor Stories, like you said, that's going to be a big loss. Obviously, Mondesi, he needs to stay healthy. But I mean, any other teams you have in mind? Because we could obviously we could take a look at what's going down in the Final Four.
I'll think of probably a few teams later, but yeah, let's pivot to the Final Four.
So everyone, I've heard I saw there's about 37 brackets that have correctly predicted the Final Four.
That's too high.
37 brackets.
There's no way 37 brackets.
Well, I think I told you I have a guy. I'm in a bracket challenge with a guy who has FAU winning the whole thing. So I'm just absolutely just pulling my hair out looking at my bracket challenge. But hey, Mountain West.
Wait, you froze. Say that again.
Oh, I was saying that I have a guy in a bracket challenge I'm with who has FAU winning the whole thing.
There is no way 37 brackets came up with this.
I know.
There's no way, dude. That's way too high. I would guess like 5. There's no way.
Out of like 10 million, maybe. I don't know, but I mean, we could all rejoice because Mountain West represent
the Mountain West. I told you. I'm just kidding. I didn't have them making the Final Four, but like Jesus Christ. There is no conference in America with more teams in the Final Four than the Mountain West. Fun fact. No teams. 0.
It's a fact.
It's a fact.
Just like last year with the MAC, we all have reason to celebrate,
No, yeah, no. Yeah, what a weekend for the Mountain West. What a weekend for FAU. The ACC, which was like bad, or at least worse comparatively to normal this year. Miami gets into the Final Four, and then of course UConn, who's like just a battering ram right now. They're beating the piss out of everyone. Like they aren't just beating teams; they are beating the living hell out of teams. And so yeah, I'm excited. Like what? From your perspective, like what did you take away from this weekend? Or like what were your thoughts from this entire weekend?
I mean, I just remember what Trey was saying in the Slack, and I have to agree. Like UConn is just hotter than fish grease right now. Like they could. I mean, you got to give Miami credit because they did make it all the way here, but I just feel like UConn could just run through everyone and win the whole thing now. Like, it just seems like that's what Dan Hurley. I don't know what Dan Hurley is telling his guys right now, but they are just playing on a different level.
Well, like think about it. At one point in the season, I think UConn was what they were. I think they eventually did make the number 1 team in the nation, right? They started out, I think 15-0, 16-0, something like that.
They were starting to get back to the
best team in the nation heading into Big East play, and then they kind of hit a rut.
Yeah.
I think they suffered some injuries. I can't exactly remember, but and then they found a way. They got back on track towards the end of the season. Because I remember when Big East play started, they lost like 5 of 6 or something like that. Right. It was just like, what the hell? UConn, like a top 3 offense, a top 15 defense. This is the one matchup for Miami I'm a little bit fearful of. I don't think Miami matches up with them well at all. Like Miami lacks size. And it's like you have 2 guys like Klingin and Sanogo.
Sanogo could like have the game of his life right here.
Yeah, but like also the thing with Miami that's also been like very impressive with them is their offense and their guard play with Isaiah Wong specifically.
That's fair.
They like trucked through Houston, who was one of the best defenses also in the nation. They scored 89 points on them. Like 89 points on very good efficiency, but like the thing that separates Houston and Miami or Houston and UConn is the size discrepancy. And I'm a little bit worried about the size that Miami has heading into this game. Because it's like UConn's one of the best rebounding teams in the nation. So is Houston, but UConn I think is second in rebounding percentage across the entire country. They're, I think, the best offensive rebounding team, just offensive rebounding rate in the entire country, in large part because of Klingon and Sonogo and Andre Jackson.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder like how, like I like Hawkins, I like Jackson matching up against Wong and their other guards. I don't know. Like I'm not going to count Miami out, obviously, but I'm a little bit fearful of the matchup in this game comparatively to what Miami's had to face already, if that makes sense. I mean, it's like Miami's also like, they're also a top 10 offense.
Yeah. I mean,
So it's points, but it's like, think about it. UConn held the nation's best offense in Gonzaga to 54 points.
Yeah.
And on 35% shooting, or not 35% shooting, they had an effective field goal percentage of 35%. By far their worst of the season. By far, not even close.
Yeah.
And I know a decent portion. I wasn't able to watch the whole game, but I know a decent portion of that was like just missing open looks and whatnot. But like, I don't like how much is. I wonder, like, is there a way that like Wong and Nigel Pack and Jordan, like I wonder how they attack this kind of big UConn defense, this big and very, very physical UConn defense.
It's gonna be it's gonna probably be keeping them up at night. I'm sure they're not gonna sleep very well on Thursday night or Friday night, is it? Before they play that. And I mean, I'm just thinking about, I've just been seeing Sonogo like the whole tournament. Like he just does everything. Like he's got his jumper, he's got his size, he can move his feet, he can pick up rebounds on either backboard. He can, there's just like, what can't this guy do? And I think he really has a shot at being the most outstanding player of this tournament, I feel like.
Yeah, but it's like their guard play also hasn't been bad. Like Tristan Newton's a good guard. Jordan Hawkins is, I know
Jackson, like you said,
shot in the lights out. Andre Jackson, who I like as just like a prospect, like an NBA prospect, even though he's a non-shooter. Like he just makes the heady plays when they need to be made. Like Carabin isn't bad. Like they have guys, but like again, so does Miami. They have Long, Pack, Omir.
I mean, it's gonna be a great game. Both of these games, I think,
were teams with good guard play.
Yeah.
But I worry about the size that.
I know UConn's. Yeah, they're definitely gonna. I think they're gonna exploit that very early on in the game. I just have a feeling.
Or at least they'll try to. I mean, Omir is like 6'9", 6'10", but that's their biggest guy. Like. Or at least that's their biggest guy that'll get rotation minutes.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know if they have anyone else bigger. But, like, I just wonder how they mix and match. It's like, again, Sonogo is just as big as Omir is, and Klingon's 7'2". Like, I just from, like, a size perspective. I mean, Jim Larinaga been coaching a very good tournament, I would say, just in the times that I've watched Miami.
Definitely.
But so is Dan Hurley. I mean, dude, they've beaten – 3 of their 4 opponents by like at least 22, 23 points. Like they are steamrolling these teams, man.
It's not pretty.
Like they beat a well-coached Eric Musselman team. Yeah, I'll go to war from us. But they beat a very well-coached Musselman team by 23 points. It wasn't close. They beat St. Mary's, who is a well-coached team, by Randy Bennett. They beat them by 15 points. They dog-walked current St. John's legend
Rick Pitino
by 24 points. Excuse me.
Blew him out of the water.
They were on a tear towards the end of Big East play. I mean, I know they lost that one game to Marquette in the Big East championship. But
yeah,
they've been steamrolling teams. But again, so has Miami. So it's like I can't count Miami out. Like Miami's played closer games. Obviously, they beat Drake, who many people thought they were going to lose to.
Yeah, everyone had that upset.
They beat Indiana, Trace Jackson Davis, Jalen Chifino. They beat Houston, who had Sasser, who had Jarris Walker.
Yep.
And then they they came back and beat Texas after trailing by what, 13, 14 points in the second half. Like this is a feisty Miami team, and it's like
they're not going to go down without a fight.
No, they're not, and they're going to put up points. And so I wonder how. Again, I saying the same thing over. I just wonder how they decide to attack a bigger Miami. I mean, I think the one edge that UConn or that Miami will have, or at least that could pay a big difference to them, is getting to the free throw line. UConn's not a good team defending without fouling. That's the one thing that could screw them in a game like this. I mean, they've done, I think, a pretty good job this tournament. But like just in general, they're not a good team defending without fouling. And that could be one way that guys like Wong and Pack and Miller, like how they are able to get up points and kind of change the momentum of any game. It's just by getting to the charity stripe and trying to get those guys in foul trouble early. But it's going to be an interesting chess match for sure, because it's like UConn's very deep. So that's something that I'm interested in for that.
Oh
game.
yeah. Here, I'll pull up the other game. I'll pull up FAU, San Diego. I'm sure, yeah, San Diego's favored.
Oh man,
this is also
good. I don't like the discourse about this being a bad Final Four, but I'm also saying that when the team that I'm rooting for just for this tournament is in the tournament. What a story it is for both Florida Atlantic and what a story it is for both Florida Atlantic and San Diego State.
Absolutely.
This is Florida Atlantic's second ever NCAA tournament appearance.
I thought they were dead in the water against Memphis also.
Yeah, like this team has not won. They got bounced in the first round. I think it was like, I don't remember what year.
It was like 05 or 02 or something.
Yeah, it was like the mid 2000s. This was their second ever tournament appearance.
Guys
that are you're in my age, like fans and students at the University of Florida Atlantic. It's Florida Atlantic University.
I think I knew someone who went there, and I can't even imagine.
But like they have never seen their team make the NCAA tournament, let alone make it to the Final Four. Like that's insane. It's insane.
That's the hallmark of college basketball.
This college basketball season has been drunk.
Yeah, it's just been a complete tornado, a twister. Like
that's why they call it March Madness. But like,
you're not
everyone's
lying.
bracket's just gone to hell.
Yeah,
but like, I mean, San Diego State. This is their first ever time in the Final Four as the Mountain West as a conference. This is their first ever time. It was their first ever time making the Elite Eight, let alone the Final Four. I think it's the same thing with Florida Atlantic's in the Conference USA, right? I'm not sure.
I think so. I believe so.
Let me look this up. Conference USA. Yeah, they're 35-3, and so they've hardly lost. They have an 11-game win streak going on. What'd you think about? Did you see the ending of that San Diego State Creighton game? Like, what do you think about that foul?
I mean,
it was
I'll be honest. I didn't really see it that much. I definitely do want to get a replay on it, but I definitely know. Like I was seeing on Twitter, it definitely got people stirred up.
Yep, just a little bit. Like, yeah. Well, I mean, here's my thoughts on it. I don't love when refs. It was weird because it's like usually when it's like the last second of a game. Or like the last few seconds of a game. Like we talked about this when LeBron threw that big, gigantic hissy fit against Boston that one night. Yeah. Like usually refs just at all levels of basketball, when it comes down to the final seconds, they kind of just swallow their whistle and don't call anything.
Let them play.
Yeah, they let them play. And so that was weird because it's like this, just to give you the full insight of this game, San Diego State and Creighton, it was a remarkably physical game. But not a lot of fouls were being called within the first 35 or so minutes. I mean, the whistles tightened a little bit down the stretch, but there was only like 17 combined free throws, something like that. Like there wasn't very many free throws, but it was a very, very, very physical game. And that's just the kind of game that San Diego State plays. And that's also the kind of game that Creighton plays because there's also they're also a top 15, 20 defense. And so it was a very physical game back and forth. Not a lot was being called. They were letting him play in this kind of situation. There was a lot of fouls that weren't being called that would have been called in like January or December.
Yeah.
And so the fact that it wasn't like a consistently, like at least down the stretch of the game, wasn't consistently officiated. I can see how that could bug a lot of people. But like I think it was a foul. Like, I think it's a foul that not necessarily one that you should make in that situation. Like there is the argument that like even if it is the last seconds of a game, you should call fouls when they are
like
fouls.
context aside, yeah.
Yeah, which is fair.
Right.
But like I think objectively, like as someone who's rooting for San Diego State, and not only San Diego State, but like the conference they're in, because it's the conference that I follow and do stuff for. But like it sucks when a game ends like that. Like just from like an objective standpoint, yeah, I'm rooting for San Diego State because it makes my alumni money. But like from the perspective of like objective basket, like from an objective standpoint, when it's a foul like that that's not called consistently throughout the game, I could see how that could bug people.
Of course.
I really could see how that could bug people. I did think it was a foul, but I could see how that could bug people because it was a very physical game. San Diego State is a team that they will try to beat the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Like
that's March basketball. Like you got to put your body on the line, you know?
Yeah, they're an incredibly experienced team. They have like 3 or 4, or I think 4 or 5 guys in their rotation who are 5th-year seniors. Like they're an experienced, old,
hungry
physical team.
Yeah.
Like that's just the way they play. Like I saw a tweet, I can't remember who it was from, but it was from like one of like the bigger like basketball pages that I like on Twitter. But they're like, this is how San Diego State plays every game. And from someone who watched San Diego State a lot just throughout the season, it's exactly how they play. Like it's not wrong. They're a very physical team and they will try to beat you with their physicality. It's not always pretty basketball. They're not the biggest team in the world, but they will try to beat the shit out of you just physically.
Right.
And like they have guys like Lamont Butler, Jaden Ledade, Nathan Mensah, who's the 2-time Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year, Keyshawn Johnson. Like they have guys who, Agueco Rope, like they have guys who will play defense and guys who will scrap and claw for everything. Darion Trammell, who's 5'10", but will try to scrap and claw for everything that just for everything.
Rip your head off to win the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it just remind me of like, what comparison would I make here? I mean, I'll use it because it not the same thing applies, but they kind of remind me of like a Heat Raptors team that will scrap and claw and try to out.
Not the most talented, but definitely the most hardworking.
Yeah, that's how San Diego State plays, and so it's like for this matchup alone, like I wonder how guys like Elijah Martin and John L. Davis and Vlad will play, but.
Yeah, I mean,
like I think Vlad Golden will be the difference maker because he's 7-1. He's another guy that San Diego State has to go against. Who like San Diego State did a good job against Kalkbrenner in the final, at least in the second half. I mean, they were limiting his touches. They were making him catching it further out from the basket. They were trying to bully him. They were going at him in the paint, even though he's a 7-foot rim protector who goes straight up and doesn't foul. They were continuously going at him, whether it was Lamont Butler, whether it was Trammell, who again is the 5'10" guy. Like they were going straight at him, and they were trying to bruise. They were trying to play bully ball with him, in the paint. And that was kind of their formula. And Vlad Golden is another guy who is one of the best offensive rebounders left in this field, along with Sanogo.
Yeah.
I mentioned UConn was like second in rebounding rate. Well, Florida Atlantic is like, I think in the top 20 or top 15 in rebounding rate. And they're a very good offensive rebounding team. They don't have a lot of size outside of Golden, but that's what makes them like the difference maker. Because San Diego State's tallest guy that they'll normally play in their rotation is Mensah, who's 6'9", 6'10".
Changes
things. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but like they have some length outside of that. But like outside of Golden, like they have guys who are 6 foot, 6'2", 6'4". And it's like, I'm mentioning the size so much because I think like that could be a difference maker in games like this, even though like we saw Fairleigh Dickinson.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me think. I don't want to look too far ahead, but like, I just feel like it's just made for a UConn San Diego State matchup for the championship. Like, I mean, that would just be a brain buster. Like, I mean,
I mean, I still think
Even though
UConn
they're
will.
both the favorites, I feel like that's just what it's meant to be now. Like
Yeah, I mean, both Florida Atlantic and San Diego State have proven not only in this tournament but
in the past.
throughout the season that they can win close games. Florida Atlantic, in part because of Golden, they're another very good defensive team. Um, the same question for San Diego State is going to pop in my brain every single time they play one of these games: is can they score enough?
Yeah.
That's the biggest question mark.
If it becomes a shootout, will they be able to hold up?
Yeah, like Trammell has done. Trammell was one of the best players in the Louisville, in those two Louisville games in Louisville, with his shot making. Lamont Butler had 19 against Creighton, and he was spectacular. But like, if it comes to a source of offense, like Matt Bradley, who's San Diego State's best player, has not played well these last few games. I think a part of that has been, I know it was maybe I think in the Bama game, it was in part due to foul trouble, but he's just not getting the same quality of looks as he was throughout the entire season. But that's what makes San Diego State go so good is they're not top heavy. Like Bradley, just to give you some perspective, was the newcomer of the year, I believe, last year. And he was one of the favorites to win the Conference Player of the Year award this year. Like he was a former 15, 16, 17 point per scorer when he was at Cal a few seasons ago. And he was expected to come in and be kind of that same guy, but they're so deep and they have sources of, it's not the best sources of offense in the world, but they have other guys that they can look to if they need a bucket. Like they've relied a lot on like Keyshaw Johnson and a lot of like on Parrish, who had 16 in the game against Furman. Like they have guys who they can just, there's different guys that spark up every game that they can rely on, but collectively, will it be enough? I don't know. That's kind of just the biggest question mark that I have. And it's like, again, we know they're going to scrap and claw defensively. They're going to have to force a bunch of turnovers like they do they did against Bama, like they did against Creighton. Actually, I don't know if they forced a lot of turnovers against Creighton, but regardless, like they're going to have to really muck it up again against a good Florida Atlantic team with two very good guards in Martin and Davis and a good big and Golden. Like they also got like Michael Forrest and Brian Green. Like they have some good players.
Have some dogs
just outside of their two guards in Golden, but like so did Creighton. Creighton had Baylor Shireman. They had Ryan Nemhart, who injured his hand during the middle of the game, unfortunately. Right. And Kalkbrenner. Like they had multiple sources of offense too, and that was kind of their biggest strength throughout the Big East play. But like, can they do the same? Can San Diego State do the same? I don't know.
I know.
I think they will win this game, but it's like
it's gonna be a nail biter. Like
no idea anymore when it comes to March Madness. I'm done predicting March Madness.
I think I gotta trade my crystal ball in for a new one because mine is shot after this.
Yeah, no, I remember I took this weekend off like betting these games. Cause it's like when it came to like the first and second round, like I was okay, but like it's such a effing crapshoot when it comes to this, man. It's like I was like, no, I'm done. Like I'm not doing it. I'm not touching these games anymore. I'll just stick to NBA, which I'm also bad at.
I've been on a bit of a gambling break ever since the World Baseball Classic ended, and I was like, I'm riding my country, Team USA all the way, and then of course Ohtani has to just absolutely destroy all of my parlays. And
yeah, the one game I bet was the championship game. Again, that's why I nicknamed myself Vendetta's worst. I mean, you can't nickname yourself, but I'm already Vendetta's worst gambler. I know it. I know my history of betting. Everything I touch turns to just hell.
I saw like Japan plus 100 flash up on my app. I was like, no. It's like USA all the way. Like Trey Turner just hit a bomb. Like they're winning this, like no question. And of course they did not win. And Ohtani just absolutely became the hero of the day. And that was that. But
one ending though, just on a side note, one ending.
Yeah. That was just outrageous. That was like crazy. But I mean, we said at the beginning, like it's just a great it's a great time to be a sports fan. There's just so much going on, and anything else on your mind, man?
Did you see the I don't know, we're going back to baseball, but did you see the JT Realmuto ejection yesterday?
Yes. It's like, I mean, it's like I feel like it's a competition between NBA and MLB officiating, like who's trying to be worse at their job. And NFL
NCAA
officials
officials aren't
are
good.
no spring chickens,
Here's my take. There's no league with good officials.
There is no good. Yeah, even hockey. I could tell you NHL officiating is not good.
Dude, it's so bad. Like, it's a spring training game, but like, did you see like the full context of like the situation?
He was like handing him a ball, right? Like,
well, yeah. Well, what happened was John Boy did a great breakdown. So like,
I gotta watch that.
Yeah, check that out when you can. I saw it last night, but like, it apparently was like Kimbrel. He got called for the pitch clock, and so it's like, okay, he got called for the pitch clock. It became like a 2-2 count or whatever. I don't remember what the exact count was, right. But anyway, after that, he throws the ball to the side. The umpire throws like a ball back to him, and like while he's doing that, like of course, JT is like waiting for a ball. He's waiting for a ball, but he's looking directly at Kimbrel. So it's like, okay, he sees that he throws the ball at Kimbrel. It's like, all right, cool, whatever. But then Kimbrel feels the ball again, like for a few seconds. He's like, no, I don't like that one. Chucks to the side, kind of like what baseball pitchers do. They don't like it, so they
want to throw what they're comfortable with.
Yeah, and so like, and still JT's looking directly at Kimbrel, and it looks like just from JT's perspective that Kimbrel's going to catch the ball again. But then like JT has the glove out again, takes it back, and that's when the umpire is like, oh, okay, like this time I'll hand it to you instead of throwing it directly back to Kimbrel. And apparently the ump took it as like a sign of disrespect. And it's just like JT turned around and he was just like, dude, I'm not even looking at you. Like, how can I tell you're throwing it to him or not? Like why are you ejecting me over that?
Oh my gosh.
And it's just like,
it makes my brain melt, dude. It makes my brain. Oh my gosh.
Like, what are we doing, bro? Like, this is just like,
it's bad.
Why would you eject someone over that? Spring training, whether it's like
chill vibes, like everyone's just trying to warm up for the season, ramp up the conditioning. You got to throw them out.
I don't know if it was Kimbrel, but like JT's walking off the field, he's just like looking, he's like, yeah, like I just got ejected. Like he was just like, he played it pretty cool. He didn't get like, but he looked back, he was just like, I wasn't even looking at you, dude. Like, how do I know that? Just like, what are we doing? Like, I'm not pro umpire, but like, I don't want robot umps in the league. I mean, that the situation has nothing to do with robot umps. It's not like balls or strikes or anything, but like, and if there were robot umps, there would still be like an ump behind the plate. But like sometimes I just find it funny when something so stupid happens that someone gets tossed or whatever.
Just the most
except if it's to my team, of course, but like it's the dumbest, one of the dumbest ejections that I've just ever seen. It's just
mind blowing.
Like, what are we doing? Like, I guess get them out now, but like,
yeah, get the jitters out now. Like, I don't know.
And apparently, I don't know if Jimmy said it or if it was like I saw it on Twitter, but like apparently it was like a minor league umpire. Maybe I think. Or he did a lot of like AAA stuff, so maybe this is his first year in Major League, or maybe
he's gonna step up.
I don't even know. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't happen, but it's still very funny that it did happen because just how it happened. It's just like, what exactly are we doing here? Like, this is the stupidest
stuff,
stupidest thing ever. And it's like, yeah, let's eject someone over this. It's like, again, at least you're doing this in spring training and not like in an important game.
Yeah. Better than in a playoff game, at least, but still.
If this happened in a playoff game,
I think heads would roll.
Or something. I don't know.
Heads would roll. That would be bad, to put it lightly, but I don't know.
Other than that, I don't have anything else. I'm ready for opening day.
Yeah, me too. Let's go Yankees. Let's go San Diego State. I'm rooting for
Yeah,
the Aztecs.
let's go.
Rooting for the Mountain West.
The one time I'll root for San Diego State.
This is an outlier.
Yeah, well, I'm rooting for the conference. I'm
Just root for
rooting
Mountain
for
West.
San Diego State because bias aside, I want every team in the conference to do well always, but
Yeah. Just like,
it's
yeah,
not.
that's why I was so happy about St. Peter's because my school
Right.
got a nice check for their run to the Elite Eight.
Yep. Yeah. Listen, you get those units. I mean, each Mountain West program could get 250,000 just for this year alone.
It's pretty
Could the unit number hasn't been decided yet, but the Mountain West secured 8 units because 4 teams made the field. Nevada, even though it was the first 4, Boise State and Utah State.
Yep.
All 3 of those teams lost, but San Diego State, they're now. It stops at the Final Four, so unfortunately, if they make the NCAA title game, they can't
add anything
more units. But
right.
Listen, the conference made $16 million over the next 6 years just because of what especially San Diego State, has done in this tournament alone. I mean, the Mountain West, they had a string where they lost 11 straight games, dating back to 2018. Wow, they lost 11 straight games, and they're heralded as one of the best mid majors in the country.
Well, now they're showing it
Power 6 or whatever, but they're still a good mid-major conference. I mean, they were 5th in the net rankings this year. They were 6th in Ken Pom just in terms of conference. They were ahead of the ACC. So it's like they were a good conference this year because of how deep they were. And now it's finally good to see that pay itself off after getting embarrassed. I mean, a conference shouldn't be determined based on what they do in the tournament, but narratives get made in March. Narratives get made when you're on the biggest stage, and if your conference is consistently performing or underperforming, then that's going to get talked about. Whether you like it or not, that's just how it is. And
that's March,
especially for a high quality mid major. Maybe not for a team like the MAC or I don't know, whatever what name insert
A10, the A, all sorts of stuff.
Like the Big East or I don't know. The SWAC or the WAC or whatever, they're not going to be heralded as some. They're not going to. It's not going to be a shift this is a good conference versus this is such a terrible conference just based on what they do in March. They're probably going to be continuously be labeled in that that mediocrity kind of territory, even though if they have a team going to Cinderella. Mountain West is different because they usually put multiple bids in the conference or in the tournament. They've ever since their inception in 99, 2000, they've put multiple teams in the NCAA tournament all but 3 years. They put multiple teams in every single year, and it's to see it finally pay off in this kind of way.
Exactly. This is the big
especially when 3 teams lost their first game.
Yeah, imagine San Diego State just gets knocked out in the second round or something.
Yeah, that means they would only secure 5, and it's well, here we go again. The Mountain West is 1-4 in the NCAA tournament.
No longer, no more.
After going 0-4 the year before, it's looked at differently when you're a conference like the Mountain West,
right?
As opposed to and there's tournaments there's fates that have gotten decided in past years too. Remember before that UCLA USC run a couple years ago, the Pac-12 was labeled as some bad conference just because they can't get past. Now we're seeing a little bit of that with the Big Ten. The Big Ten, I remember John Rothstein's talked about they need to make it to the second weekend, at least because the last few years haven't been great for them. I mean, I know Michigan State made it far this year as a 7th seed, or far further as a 7th seed this year, but just in general, their conference hasn't lived up to the standards that they're usually held to because they were probably the second best conference this year. I mean, the Big 12 was far and away the best, and the Big 12 didn't put a team in the Final Four. Or, they had Texas in the Elite Eight. Did they have someone else?
Xavier's not in there, right?
No, Xavier's Big East.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, but team conferences get held to this standard.
Yeah, just on name value, just
name. Yeah,
the expectations are they immediately follow.
Yeah, and it's if you produce in March, it's like the same thing with like professional sports teams. If you're consistently good in the regular season, but shit the bed in the postseason, people are going to look at you differently. Well, again, whether you think it's fair, unfair, or not, like conferences in this, at least in this stage, are going to look at you differently if that's the case. Like it's
We're
the same thing
Yankees
with
fans.
football, with like the Big Ten and the SEC. They consistently put teams in the college football playoff, and now that's going to be expanding. And so, like the group of five will have at least a team in there. You're going to have the Pac-12 with a team in there consistently, like
Right.
which we can debate all day whether it's good or not good, but like at least within this 4-team realm and previously the 2-team realm, it was like these are the top dogs. When is the Big 12 going to step up? When is
Right.
like, or at least the teams who make it to the national title game? Because I know like Oklahoma for years made it, and then they would just continually get just completely dog walked in the first game. Like when is this going to step up? Like in terms of college athletics, when you're depending on, especially with football and basketball, conferences that people pay attention to that stuff. And so that's why it's like, it's fun for me, someone who covers the Mountain West and who's someone who has a school in the Mountain West, finally get that at least a little bit more notoriety than it did previously.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking to myself, like, we're Yankees fans. We know that the money is made in October and November. That's when it really, that's when the rubber hits the road, And
yep,
exactly.
And guess what? They haven't performed the last 5-6 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks because I'm not necessarily one where it's like you have to perform in October or you suck. But like again, I'm not ever.
Your legacy is that legacy is
right.
That's how you're gonna be remembered is October.
Yep. Whether you and I think it's fair, unfair, or not, that's just going to be the status quo.
Aaron Judge had one of the greatest individual seasons in Major League Baseball history last year, and I don't think he may not have even batted over 200 in the playoffs.
He was not good.
He was not good.
Again, I think Judge is still one of the best players in baseball, but again, not everyone in New York or Boston or those big markets that October is important. Not everyone's going to think that.
It's a double-edged sword because, he wins a World Series, then he's the greatest Yankee since Derek Jeter. It's that simple, like pretty much.
Yep.
That's it.
And that's why so many Yankee fans love Derek Jeter, whether people think he's overrated or underrated or whatnot, just from a national perspective, because he's
a winner
up in October.
Yep.
That's just the reality of the situation.
That's the fact of the matter.
Narratives get made, whether we think it's fair or unfair, or at least in the biggest moments. You will be deemed a winner or a loser or someone who's clutch or someone who's not clutch in those moments.
There's a reason the flip at home plate is considered one of the greatest plays in baseball history because it's just who he is. It's who the Yankees are, and it's you don't need to be a fan of one specific sport to just know that.
Right.
It's a universal language.
Like, before we close this, I'll use the example of Jimmy Butler.
Right.
Jimmy Butler, he's a good regular season player, but he hasn't won a title yet. But when it's come to playoff time, this is when he's at his like literal best. Yes. I'll put LeBron as that same person. He's won four titles.
4 titles.
But like you go back and look at like his
early days.
He is utterly absurd. Like he just has different gear in the playoffs.
There's a reason he ran the Eastern Conference.
Again, another example I'll use. He doesn't have as big of a sample, but Luka.
Yeah.
Luka hasn't won
to the level of others yet, but
yeah, like I'll use Luka as an example. Luka, he hasn't won like a title yet or anything of that sort, but like he's
putting up historic numbers.
He's a historically good playoff performer from the limited sample that we've gotten.
Yeah.
And so like we can't, part of his team success isn't just it's not him specifically, it's players around him, but like he's held up his end of the bargain. Donovan Mitchell is another one.
Jamal Murray, I remember that big game in the bubble.
Yeah, like I'll say it for the umpteenth time, whether we think it's fair or not, narratives get made in these type of moments.
It's just how it works. Like, I already knew Shohei Ohtani was the best player in baseball pretty much, but that World Baseball Classic kind of just sealed the deal. Like, this guy's gonna get the first $500 million contract in sports.
Yeah, he might.
I think.
Wait, didn't Mahomes get 500
I
million?
thought it was like 450 for Mahomes, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's somewhere around there.
Yeah, but still, I mean, it's
Somewhere around
crazy. But like you said, man, that's sports right there.
That's Again, we can debate all day about like the circumstances of certain players in certain situations, whether injured, uninjured, whatever. But the general public is gonna look at what happens in the postseason.
Yeah, you hold the jury until this time of year comes around, but or for March Madness or baseball, what have you, the finals.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, this has been a really good episode, man. You got anything else?
I don't. This is 2 hours and 10 minutes.
I know, 2 hours and 10 minutes.
I wonder what everyone thinks where they're just like, yeah, the Tuesday episode is just so goddamn long. It's like, well, I can't shut up. All right.
Well, I try to keep the time stamps honest and make sure what people want to hear they can get to. Yeah, exactly. Sue me. We like to talk about sports. That's all.
Yeah, I don't know when to shut the fuck up. So
right, it's not a bad thing. But everyone, Trey, I know Trey has been watching, but everyone else, thank you all for tuning in. Be ready for another episode like this next Tuesday, I will say. But I'll have the post up today, and obviously it'll be available on YouTube. But again, everyone, alongside Matt Hannafin, I'm Chris Bagdonis. I hope you are having a great Tuesday, and we'll see you next week.